Ethan Voss wiped the sweat off his forehead as he worked on a power relay inside the colony's main engineering bay. The air smelled of burnt circuits and metal, and the dim lights flickered every few seconds. Something was wrong with the system, but the diagnostics showed nothing. "This doesn't make sense," Ethan muttered, scratching his chin. For the past 3 days, strange things had been happening. Tools went missing and reappeared in different places. Machines shut down for no reason. Doors opened and closed when no one was near them. At first, he thought it was just a system glitch, but now he wasn't so sure. It felt like someone, or something, was here. The other engineers laughed at him when he mentioned it. "Maybe the colony is haunted," one of them joked. "Or you're just working too hard, boss," another added. Ethan ignored them. He trusted his instincts. Something was here, and he was going to find out what. That night, after everyone left, Ethan stayed behind in the engineering bay. He turned off the lights and sat quietly, watching and listening. The room was silent except for the hum of the machines. He placed a small wrench on the table in front of him and waited. Minutes passed. Nothing happened. Then, a soft scraping sound. Ethan held his breath. The wrench was moving. It slid across the table, slowly, as if an invisible hand was pushing it. Ethan's heart pounded, but he stayed still. His mind raced with possibilities. A magnetic field. A small tremor. Or was someone really there? He decided to test it. He reached out quickly, aiming for the empty space where the wrench had moved. His fingers brushed against something solid. A gasp filled the air. Ethan jerked his hand back in shock. The space in front of him shimmered like a heatwave. And then, a figure appeared. It was a woman, but not human. Her skin had a faint silver-blue hue, and her large violet eyes widened in shock. Her dark, flowing hair moved slightly as if caught in an unseen breeze. She wore a suit made of a strange, shifting material that seemed to blend with the surroundings. She took a step back, her expression filled with fear. You can see me," she whispered. Ethan swallowed, still trying to process what had just happened. "I don't know how, but yeah, I can now." The woman looked down at her hands in disbelief. They flickered between visible and invisible. This shouldn't be possible. Ethan stood up slowly, not wanting to scare her away. "Who are you? And why are you sneaking around our colony?" The woman didn't answer right away. Her gaze flickered to the exit, as if considering escape, but then she sighed. She had been discovered. There was no point in running now. "My name is Sci-Fi," she said finally, "and I am here because I was sent to watch you." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Watch us? Why?" Sci-Fi hesitated. Then, in a quiet voice, she said, "Because my people fear yours." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. Humanity was still expanding into the stars, but they had already met several alien species. Some were peaceful. Others were not. If Sci-Fi's people feared humans, did that mean they were planning something? He crossed his arms. "And what exactly are you looking for?" Sci-Fi bit her lip. "I don't know everything. I was just assigned to observe and report. My people have been watching humanity for a long time, but I stayed longer than I should have." "Why?" She looked at him, something unreadable in her expression. "Because I wanted to understand you." Ethan frowned. "Understand what?" She hesitated before speaking. "Every species we've encountered has a limit, a weakness, something that makes them predictable. But humans, you break patterns, you adapt. And now you can do something even my people cannot do. You can see me. That should be impossible." Ethan exhaled, trying to wrap his mind around her words. Maybe we're just full of surprises. Sci-Fi gave him a small, almost amused look. But then her expression darkened. "You don't understand. If my people learn that a human can bypass our cloaking, they won't let this go. They will see it as a threat." Ethan felt the weight of her words. If humanity had just unknowingly challenged an advanced alien species, things could get dangerous very fast. A deep silence filled the room as they stared at each other. Then, Sci-Fi whispered, "I should leave before they find out." Ethan clenched his jaw. He could let her go. Pretend this never happened. But something told him that if he did, it wouldn't be the last time they met. And next time, it might not be just a simple observer. It might be an invasion. Ethan's mind raced as he stared at Sci-Fi. She had just said something that could change everything. Her people feared humans. And now, they might see him as a threat. Sci-Fi looked nervous. Her violet eyes darted toward the door, as if she was already planning her escape. "I need to leave," she said, taking a step back. "If they find out you saw me, they will come." Ethan clenched his fists. "Come for who?" "Me, the colony." She didn't answer, but her silence was enough. Ethan took a deep breath. "Then we need to make sure they don't find out." Sci-Fi's eyebrows furrowed. "You would hide this." "I don't have a choice," Ethan said. "If what you're saying is true, then letting your people know about me will put all of us in danger. I don't want a war." Sci-Fi hesitated. Her people had strict rules. If she failed to report something important, she could be punished. But she had been watching humans for months, and Ethan was different from what she had expected. He wasn't afraid. He wasn't trying to capture her. Instead, he was trying to protect both of them. She sighed. "If I stay hidden, I won't be able to send reports back. That will make them suspicious." Ethan frowned. "Then we need a way to make them think nothing has changed." Sci-Fi thought for a moment. "I could send false reports. But if they detect any lies, they will know something is wrong." Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "Then we have to be careful. Just send what they expect to hear." She gave him a curious look. "You think like a strategist." Ethan chuckled dryly. "I think like someone who wants to keep breathing." An unexpected problem. Ethan wasn't sure if he could trust Sci-Fi yet, but for now, they had a fragile agreement. She wouldn't report him, and he wouldn't expose her. But there was another problem. How had he seen her in the first place? She had been invisible before he touched her. Now, even though she could flicker in and out, something had changed. "Try going fully invisible again," Ethan said. Sci-Fi exhaled and focused. For a moment, her body shimmered like a heat wave, then faded. She was gone. Ethan reached out, moving his hand through the air where she had been. Nothing. "Huh," he muttered. "Guess it was just a one-time thing." The moment he touched the table she had been leaning on, Sci-Fi suddenly appeared again. She gasped. "You did it again." Ethan's eyes widened. "Wait, so it's not just when I touch you directly?" Sci-Fi looked at him, shocked. "No, it seems like it happens whenever you touch something I'm in contact with." Ethan frowned. "That means this isn't just about my eyesight. There's something about physical contact that cancels your invisibility." Sci-Fi's mind raced. No species had ever seen through her people's cloaking before, but now, this human could disrupt it. This was more than dangerous. It was impossible. A risky choice. Sci-Fi took a deep breath. "Ethan, listen. If my people find out about this, they will see it as an even bigger threat." "I figured," Ethan said. She hesitated before speaking again. "But I don't understand how you're doing this. Your species shouldn't have this ability." Ethan shrugged. "I don't understand it either, but that doesn't change the fact that it's happening." Sci-Fi studied him. "I need to know more. I need to figure out what makes you different." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "You mean you want to study me?" Sci-Fi crossed her arms. "You make it sound strange. I just need to understand why this is happening. It might be the only way to keep both of us safe." Ethan sighed. "Fine, but we do this on my terms. No weird experiments." Sci-Fi gave a small smile. "Agreed." Ethan exhaled, rubbing his forehead. What had he just gotten himself into? A dangerous arrival. Just as they were about to continue their conversation, a loud beep echoed through the room. Ethan turned to his workstation. His colony scanner had picked up a ship entering the atmosphere. "That's strange," he muttered. "We weren't expecting any supply runs." Scifi's expression darkened. "It's not one of your ships." Ethan's chest tightened. "Then who is it?" Scifi's voice was quiet but firm. "My people." Ethan's blood went cold. "They're here." Scifi nodded. "They must have detected something unusual. If they find out about you, they will take action." Ethan clenched his fists. "Then we need to make sure they don't." Scifi looked at him with concern. "You don't understand. If they're here, it means they already suspect something. And if they find out the truth." She didn't finish the sentence, but Ethan knew what she meant. If her people found out a human could break their cloaking, they would never allow him to live. Ethan's heart pounded as he stared at the blinking signal on his colony scanner. Scifi's people were here. He turned to her. "How much time do we have?" Scifi's face was tense. "Not much. They will scan the area first, looking for anything unusual. If they detect me, they will demand answers." Ethan clenched his jaw. "And if they find me?" Scifi hesitated. "They will capture you. Maybe worse." Ethan exhaled sharply. His colony was small, only a handful of humans living on this remote planet. They weren't prepared for a confrontation with advanced alien soldiers. He needed a plan. Fast. Hiding in plain sight, Scifi paced the room. "I need to go meet them," she said. "If I don't, they'll get suspicious." Ethan nodded. "Makes sense. But what about me?" "If they scan the area, they might detect my presence." Scifi thought for a moment. Then her eyes lit up. "Your colony has underground storage units, right?" Ethan nodded. "Yeah, for emergency supplies." "Go there," Scifi said. "Their scanners won't pick up organic life underground as easily." Ethan wasn't thrilled about the idea of hiding, but right now it was the best option. "Fine, but if anything goes wrong—" "I'll handle it," Scifi interrupted. Ethan grabbed his backpack, stuffing it with supplies. "Be careful," he said. Scifi nodded, then vanished into thin air. Ethan took a deep breath and ran toward the underground storage. An unwelcome visit. Scifi made her way to the landing site where the alien ship had arrived. It was sleek, black, and humming with energy. The ship's ramp lowered, and 3 tall figures stepped out. They wore armor, dark, sharp, and intimidating. One of them, an officer, stepped forward. His voice was cold. "Agent Scifi, report." Scifi saluted. "All is well. No threats detected." The officer's eyes narrowed. "Then explain this." He raised a small device, and a hologram appeared above it. It showed Ethan's heat signature from earlier. Scifi forced herself to stay calm. "That is just local wildlife. This planet has many small creatures." The officer studied her. "Wildlife." His tone was skeptical. Another soldier spoke. "Sir, our scans picked up an anomaly. Something is interfering with our cloaking technology in this sector." Scifi's heart raced. They were getting too close to the truth. The officer turned back to her. "You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you?" Scifi shook her head. "No, sir, but I can investigate further." The officer watched her for a long moment, then nodded. "See that you do. If anything unusual happens, report it immediately." Scifi saluted again as the soldiers turned back toward their ship. She held her breath, waiting for them to leave. Then, just before stepping inside, the officer said something that sent a chill down her spine. "Stay alert. If a human is here, we will find them." Ethan's discovery. Deep in the underground storage, Ethan paced back and forth. He had barely made it in time before Scifi's people landed. He pulled out a small device from his pack, a portable scanner. It wasn't as advanced as alien tech, but it was enough to pick up signals. He activated it, sweeping the area. Then he saw something strange. There was another signal nearby. Ethan frowned. It wasn't human. It wasn't Scifi. It was something else. He adjusted the scanner, trying to locate the source. The signal was weak, almost like it was hiding. Was something else on this planet? Ethan's gut told him he needed to find out. A race against time. Scifi returned to Ethan as soon as the soldiers left. "They're watching us closely," she said. "We need to be extremely careful." Ethan nodded. "I get that, but we have another problem." He showed her the scanner. "I picked up something underground. Something that isn't human or one of your people." Scifi stared at the screen. "That's impossible. This planet was uninhabited before humans arrived." "Then what is this?" Ethan asked. Scifi bit her lip. "There's only one way to find out." Ethan grabbed his flashlight. "Then let's go." They moved deeper underground, following the signal. The air was cool, and the tunnel walls were lined with old, forgotten machinery from past expeditions. Then suddenly, they heard a noise. A faint clicking sound echoed through the tunnel. Ethan froze. "Did you hear that?" Scifi nodded. She reached for a small blade hidden in her sleeve. Then, from the shadows, something moved. Ethan held his breath as the clicking sound echoed through the underground tunnel. The air felt heavy, thick with something unseen. He tightened his grip on the flashlight, the dim beam barely cutting through the darkness. Beside him, Scifi moved with practiced caution, her glowing eyes scanning the tunnel ahead. She gripped the small blade in her hand, her body tense. Something was watching them. Ethan whispered, "Whatever is here, it's not friendly, is it?" Scifi didn't answer immediately. Instead, she took a slow step forward, her sharp ears twitching at the faint sounds ahead. "I don't know," she admitted, "but we need to be careful." Ethan nodded. He wasn't a soldier or a fighter, but years of surviving on an alien world had taught him one thing. When something moves in the dark, it's best to be ready. A lost structure. They moved deeper into the tunnel, following the weak signal on Ethan's scanner. The clicking sounds continued, sometimes fading, sometimes growing closer. Then the tunnel opened up into a massive underground chamber. Ethan's eyes widened. It wasn't just an empty cave. It was a structure. Metal walls covered in rust and dust stood in the darkness. Strange alien symbols marked the doorways, long abandoned and forgotten. Broken machinery lay scattered across the floor, covered in time-worn cracks. Scifi stepped forward, brushing her fingers across the cold metal. "This isn't human," she said, "and it's not from my people either." Ethan frowned. "Then who built this?" Before Scifi could answer, the clicking sound grew louder. They both turned. Something was moving within the ruins, a glimpse of the unknown. Ethan lifted his flashlight, pointing it toward the noise. The beam flickered over a dark figure. Something crouched against the wall. For a brief moment, he saw it, a creature unlike anything he had ever seen. Its body shimmered like liquid metal, shifting as if trying to blend into the environment. Its long, thin limbs were bent at unnatural angles, and its eyes, deep, glowing slits, locked onto Ethan's. A sharp chill ran down his spine. It wasn't just watching them. It was studying them. Scifi whispered, "That's not a life form I recognize." The creature suddenly moved. Fast. It darted across the room, clinging to the walls like an insect, disappearing into the shadows. Ethan cursed under his breath. "Okay, that's terrifying." Scifi took a deep breath. "It's avoiding us. Maybe it's not aggressive." Ethan gave her a skeptical look. "Or maybe it's waiting for the right moment." A dangerous discovery. Scifi stepped cautiously toward the center of the chamber. "If this ruin has power left, I might be able to access its systems." Ethan watched as she reached toward a panel on the wall. She pressed her fingers against it, and to his surprise, a dim blue light flickered to life. "This structure is still alive," she murmured. Ethan glanced around, which means, so is whatever's living in it. Scifi focused, her fingers glowing faintly as she connected to the ancient tech. Strange alien symbols scrolled across the panel, filling the chamber with an eerie glow. Then suddenly, a warning message flashed across the screen. Celeri's face paled. "Ethan, this place was sealed for a reason." He frowned. "What do you mean?" She swallowed hard. "This ruin, it's not just an old structure. It was a containment facility." Ethan's stomach twisted. "For what?" Celeri turned to him, her expression serious. "For something that was never meant to be found. Nowhere to run." Before Ethan could react, the clicking sound returned. Louder, faster, closer. Multiple sets of glowing eyes appeared in the darkness. Not one creature. Not two. But many. Celeri grabbed Ethan's arm. "We need to get out of here. Now." Ethan didn't argue. They turned and ran, their footsteps echoing through the ancient halls. The creatures moved in the shadows, always just out of sight, their bodies shifting and blending into the environment. The exit was close, just a few meters ahead. Then one of the creatures dropped from the ceiling, blocking their path. Ethan skidded to a stop. Not good. Not good at all. The creature tilted its head, its glowing eyes locked onto him. It didn't attack. It just watched. Celeri held up a hand, signaling Ethan to stay still. Slowly, she reached toward the creature, her fingers trembling slightly. Then, it spoke. Not in words, but in a strange, clicking whisper that echoed inside their minds. "You are different." Ethan stiffened. "It can communicate." Celeri was just as shocked. It shouldn't be able to. The creature took a slow step forward, then another. Ethan could feel something in the air, an overwhelming presence, like 1,000 unseen eyes pressing down on them. The creature's voice echoed again. "You should not be here." Then, all at once, the lights flickered, the chamber trembled, and a deep, rumbling noise filled the air. Celeri grabbed Ethan's wrist. "Run." Ethan's heartbeat thundered in his ears as he ran through the dimly lit ruins, Celeri right beside him. The strange, shifting creatures followed, their movements quick and unnatural, their glowing eyes flickering like dying embers in the dark. The chamber trembled again. A deep mechanical groan echoed from the walls, as if something ancient had begun to stir. Ethan risked a glance back. The creatures weren't chasing them to attack. They were hurting them. Celeri cursed under her breath. "They're leading us somewhere." Ethan gritted his teeth. "Then let's not make it easy for them." A desperate escape. Up ahead, a narrow passage split into two paths, one leading deeper into the ruin, the other heading toward an exit. "Go left," Celeri shouted. Ethan hesitated. "But that's... trust me." With no time to argue, Ethan followed Celeri into the deeper passage. The air grew colder, and the walls shimmered faintly with an unknown energy. The clicking sounds faded behind them, as if the creatures had stopped their pursuit. Ethan slowed his pace. "Why aren't they following us?" Celeri scanned the walls, her glowing fingers brushing against strange carvings. Her expression was tense. "Because this place is more dangerous than they are." Ethan swallowed hard. "That's not comforting." A forgotten chamber. The passage opened into a massive underground chamber. Unlike the rest of the ruin, this place was still active. Machines hummed faintly, their lights flickering. Strange, floating symbols hovered in the air, forming patterns that pulsed like a heartbeat. In the center of the room, a large, circular platform stood, surrounded by ancient alien devices. Ethan exhaled. "This doesn't look like a prison." Celeri shook her head. "It's not." She stepped forward cautiously, her fingers tracing one of the floating symbols. "This is something much older than any civilization we know." Ethan frowned. "Then why were those creatures keeping us away?" Before Celeri could answer, the ground shook violently. The floating symbols flickered, and a deep, rumbling voice filled the chamber. "You are not of the creators." Ethan stiffened. "Okay, that's new." Scilarri's eyes widened. Something is waking up. The Guardian's warning. A bright pulse of energy erupted from the platform, and suddenly, a figure appeared. It wasn't a creature. It wasn't even alive. A holographic projection of an alien being flickered into existence. It was tall, with elongated features and armor-like plating on its body. Its glowing eyes locked onto Ethan and Scilarri. The voice echoed again. "Leave this place. The seal must not be broken." Ethan exchanged a glance with Scilarri. "I don't like the sound of that." Scilarri's face was pale. "This isn't just a ruin. It's a containment facility." Ethan felt his stomach twist. "For what?" The holographic figure raised a hand, and the walls around them shifted, revealing massive pods embedded in the stone. The glass on one of the pods was cracked. Something had already escaped. The Guardian's voice was stern. "You have awakened the first hunter." The first hunter. A sharp clicking sound came from the broken pod. Ethan turned toward it, his muscles tensing. A shadow moved inside, a long, unnatural shape slithering out from the shattered glass. Scilarri took a step back. "We need to leave. Now." The Guardian spoke again. "You cannot run. The hunter will find you." The air grew colder. The shadows near the pod deepened. Then, from the darkness, a pair of glowing, crimson eyes emerged. A creature stepped forward, taller than the others they had seen. Its body shimmered, constantly shifting between solid and invisible, blending into the air like a mirage. Its movements were slow, deliberate, a predator studying its prey. Ethan barely whispered, "That's not fair. It can turn invisible." Scilarri grabbed his arm. "We need to move. Nowhere to hide." The hunter lunged, moving so fast Ethan barely had time to react. He rolled to the side as Scilarri pulled him away, her enhanced reflexes barely keeping them alive. The hunter disappeared again, its body blending into the shadows. Ethan's hand shook. "How do we fight something we can't see?" Scilarri clenched her jaw. "We don't. We outthink it." She turned to the Guardian. "Tell me how to stop it." The hologram's voice remained calm. "The seal must be restored. The hunter must not escape this place." Ethan narrowed his eyes. "How do we seal it?" The Guardian gestured toward the central platform. "The control system. Activate it before the hunter reaches the surface." Ethan exhaled. No pressure. A risky plan. Scilarri sprinted toward the platform, while Ethan kept his eyes on the shadows, his flashlight sweeping the chamber. The hunter's clicking sounds echoed around them, but its location was impossible to track. Then, the sound stopped. Ethan's breath caught. Where is it? Suddenly, the air behind him shifted. A chill ran down his spine. The hunter was right behind him. He turned, too slow. The hunter's clawed hand slashed toward him. Then Scilarri tackled him out of the way. They hit the ground hard, rolling across the stone. The hunter snarled, its camouflage failing for just a moment. Scilarri gasped, "Ethan, go. Activate the seal." Ethan hesitated, but only for a second. He scrambled to his feet and ran toward the platform, Scilarri drawing her blade to distract the hunter. The Guardian's voice was firm. "Hurry, the cycle is nearly complete." Ethan reached the controls, his hand shaking as he read the alien symbols. Only one chance. He pressed his palm against the glowing interface, and the entire chamber lit up with energy. A massive pulse of power surged through the room. The hunter screeched, its body flickering wildly as the containment systems roared to life. Scilarri dove behind a pillar as a bright barrier began to form around the hunter, trapping it. The Guardian's voice echoed one final time. Containment. Restored. The hunter let out one last furious scream, then vanished as the energy engulfed it. The room fell silent. Ethan collapsed to the ground, panting. "Please tell me that worked." Scilarri nodded, breathing hard. "For now." She turned to the Guardian. "Is it over?" The hologram flickered. "The seal will hold. But not forever. Ethan groaned. Why is it never easy? Scifi exhaled. Because some things are never meant to be found. Ethan sat on the cold stone floor, catching his breath as the eerie silence settled over the chamber. The hunter was sealed, for now, but the guardian's words still echoed in his mind. The seal will hold, but not forever. Scifi wiped sweat from her brow, her glowing fingers dimming. We need to leave. This place, it's not safe. Ethan nodded, but kept his gaze on the guardian's flickering hologram. You said the seal won't last forever. What do we have to do? The guardian's glowing eyes focused on him. You must leave this place and ensure no others awaken what sleeps below. Ethan frowned. That's it. Just walk away. Scifi clenched her fists. What happens when the seal breaks? The guardian hesitated for a moment before answering. The first hunter will rise again. And this time, there will be no one to stop it. A new threat. A shiver ran down Ethan's spine. There's got to be a way to fix the seal permanently. The guardian's form flickered. There was once a way, but the knowledge is lost. Scifi's expression darkened. Lost where? The guardian turned toward the ancient carvings on the walls. They glowed faintly, as if hiding a secret. The last of the creators hid the answer beyond the stars. It is no longer within this world. Ethan exhaled. Of course it isn't. That'd be too easy. The chamber rumbled slightly. The containment field around the hunter pulsed, growing unstable for a moment before returning to normal. Scifi tensed. That's not a good sign. The guardian's voice grew softer. The hunter is resisting the seal. You must leave now. Ethan stood, brushing dust off his clothes. All right, let's go. Scifi glanced once more at the glowing symbols, then turned away. We'll find another way. The two hurried back through the winding corridors of the ruin, their footsteps echoing in the emptiness. But as they neared the exit, a new sound reached their ears. Footsteps. Not theirs. Someone else was in the ruins. The uninvited guests. Ethan pressed against the wall, peering into the darkness. We're not alone. Scifi's eyes flickered with light. I see them. 6, no, 7 people. Armed. Ethan whispered, Great. More trouble. A deep voice echoed through the chamber. I know you're here. Come out. Ethan sighed. Guess we don't have a choice. They stepped forward cautiously, hands raised. The group of strangers stood in the dim light. Mercenaries, wearing dark armor, their weapons ready. A tall, scared man at the front smirked. Well, what do we have here? Scifi's gaze hardened. You shouldn't be here. The man chuckled. Oh, I think we should. He nodded toward the ruins. Heard rumors about some ancient power hidden here. Something valuable. Ethan clenched his jaw. You have no idea what you're messing with. The mercenary's grin widened. That's the thing. We like messing with the unknown. He motioned toward his men. Find whatever they're hiding. The race against time. Ethan stepped forward. You don't want to do this. Trust me. The mercenary leader raised an eyebrow. And why's that? Scifi's voice was sharp. Because if you touch the wrong thing, you won't make it out alive. The leader laughed. Oh, I love a good mystery. He waved his hand, and his men fanned out, scanning the ruins. Scifi whispered to Ethan, We can't let them near the containment field. Ethan's mind raced. The hunter was sealed, but if these mercenaries damaged the ruins, it might escape. We need a distraction, he muttered. Scifi nodded. Follow my lead. She lifted her hand and suddenly, the ruins trembled again. But this time, on purpose. The mercenaries froze as the walls flickered with light, symbols glowing brighter. One of them cursed. What the hell is happening? Scifi's voice echoed through the chamber. You've awoken the ruins. They do not welcome intruders. The leader scowled. Nice try. But then, a deep, unnatural growl came from the darkness. Ethan stiffened. Was that part of the trick? Silari's expression darkened. No, something else awakens. The growl came again, low and hungry. One of the mercenaries turned his weapon toward the sound. Something's moving in there. The leader frowned. Is it the ancient power? Ethan swallowed hard. If only they knew. Silari grabbed his arm. We have to move. Now. The walls trembled, cracks forming in the stone. Then something lunged from the darkness. A shadowy creature, smaller than the hunter but just as fast, slammed into one of the mercenaries, dragging him into the void. His scream was cut short. The rest of the mercenaries panicked. What was that? The leader cursed. Weapons ready. But the creatures didn't wait. More emerged, slithering from the cracks, their glowing eyes locking onto fresh prey. Ethan grabbed Silari's hand. Run. A desperate escape. Chaos erupted in the ruins. The mercenaries opened fire, their weapons flashing, but the creatures moved too fast. One by one, they were dragged into the darkness. Ethan and Silari sprinted toward the exit, dodging falling debris as the ancient ruin began collapsing around them. Silari gasped. The whole place is coming down. Ethan risked a glance back. The mercenary leader was still standing, firing at the creatures. But he was surrounded. For a moment, their eyes met. Then, the creatures swarmed him. Ethan turned away, heart pounding. They reached the tunnel leading outside, sunlight just ahead. With one final push, they burst out of the ruins as the ground behind them collapsed. A thick cloud of dust rose into the air. The ruins were sealed once again. Ethan fell to his knees, breathing heavily. Silari stood beside him, watching the ruins with a grim expression. Ethan wiped sweat from his forehead. Tell me that's the end of it. Silari shook her head. No, it's just the beginning. Ethan sat on the rocky ground, catching his breath. The ruins behind him were gone, buried beneath tons of stone and dust. The creatures that had lurked inside were sealed away once more, but for how long? Silari stood beside him, her glowing eyes fixed on the rubble. It won't hold forever. Ethan sighed. I was afraid you'd say that. They had escaped, barely. The mercenaries, however, had not been so lucky. Ethan clenched his fists. He wasn't sure if he should feel guilty. They had been warned. But now, there were bigger concerns. The hunter was still alive, sealed but waiting, and the guardian had spoken of something beyond the stars. Ethan looked at Silari. You said there was a way to stop this for good, a lost solution. Where do we start looking? Silari hesitated, then reached into her pouch, pulling out a small, glowing device. Ethan raised an eyebrow. What's that? She held it up. Something I found in the ruins, before everything collapsed. Ethan stared at it. You're telling me you looted the place while we were running for our lives? Silari gave a small smirk. I call it strategic recovery. A message from the past. Silari pressed a button on the device. It hummed softly, then projected an image into the air. A holographic figure appeared, a tall, alien being, robed in silver and blue. Its voice echoed, calm but urgent. If you are seeing this, then the hunter still exists. Our people failed to destroy it. But there is one last hope. Ethan leaned forward. Go on. The figure continued. The weapon to end the hunter forever lies within the lost vault of the First Ones. Its coordinates are hidden, scattered across the galaxy. Only those who seek with true purpose will find it. The hologram flickered. Beware. Others may seek the vault for power. The hunter is not the only threat. Then, the message ended. Ethan sat back, rubbing his face. A lost vault. Scattered coordinates. Hidden weapon. Why is it never easy? Silari tucked the device away. Because if it were easy, the hunter would already be gone. A dangerous decision. Ethan exhaled. All right. What's our next move? Silari turned toward the horizon. The sun was setting, casting long shadows over the rocky landscape. We need to leave this planet. Ethan gave a humorless chuckle. Great. One problem. Our ship is on the other side of this wasteland. Scifi's lips curled into a confident smile. Not necessarily. She pressed a button on her wristband. A few seconds later, a distant rumble filled the air. Ethan's eyes widened as a sleek, black spacecraft emerged from behind a ridge, flying toward them. "You had a ship this whole time?" he asked in disbelief. Scifi shrugged. "I like to be prepared." The craft landed smoothly, its hatch opening with a hiss. Scifi stepped inside, motioning for Ethan to follow. "Are you coming or not?" Ethan grinned. "Like I have a choice." Into the unknown. As they took off, the planet's surface grew smaller below them. Ethan stared out the window, watching the ruins disappear in the distance. He knew one thing for sure: this wasn't over. The hunter was still out there. The vault of the first ones was waiting to be found. And if they didn't find it first, someone else would. Ethan looked at Scifi. "Where do we start?" Scifi tapped the glowing device. "We follow the first clue." Ethan smirked. "Then let's not waste any time." The ship's engines roared as they vanished into the stars.